A very good morning. A warm welcome to all the participants who have been joined in this INNOVATE industrial empowerment session. More than 3 years, we have been conducting this session for the betterment of industrial executives. And I take this opportunity. I take this opportunity to thank INNOVATE team for giving this wonderful opportunity to talk about how to integrate by a simple 10 steps about ESG with ISO 14001. Moving this session further, uh, regarding this ESG compliance, we have been conducted earlier, we have been conducted 3 sessions. This is the fourth session of this ESG implementation. With this, we can able to move further for today's session. Before we are going to understand the 10 steps, how this 10 step can be laid down, we have to understand how we are going to integrate this with ISO 14001 requirement, because that's going to give you enormous opportunities to implement these 10 steps in a very right way, and how we can able to tailor-made this for our industry. So how we are going to integrate this? Before that, you can able to understand ESG, the buzzword of industries today. It's not a new terminology at all in our country. It all starts from 2009. Next, on 2012, on BRR, Business Responsibility Reporting. 2014, very important landmark of CSR activity, corporate social responsibility, have been put together. Next, on 2019 is a very important year. We can able to tell that CB announced that top 1,000 listed companies have been forced to submit this ESG reporting framework. So this is not going to be a new technology at all for our industries. We have been practicing this ESG in different forums, in different names. So it's going to be a very easy integrations. We can able to do it in a very right way. So we can able to start the integration of this first pillar. Are we going to talk about the first pillar, about how are we going to integrate this ESG, the first pillar of environmental, with this ISO 14001. First, we have been looking about the class number 4, context of organization. Okay, context of organization. In this context of organization, I've been listed out these 3 important pillars that you can able to rework on your environmental management system manual. Okay, starting from the context of organizations, make sure that the environmental context like climate change, resource scarcity, and regulatory requirements have been added down for the context of organization, to ensure that you have been covering the context with respect to the first pillar of environmental. Yes, I can able to agree. I can able to tell you that you will be having the context of organization in different form. Make sure that you have been adding this to your manual also, to add more values for starting this EAG framework. Next, make sure that identifying the interested parties with related to this environmental aspects. Environmental aspects, yes, it may be the compliance requirements, it may be the ESG frameworks. Okay, your customers, make sure that identify that stakeholders in a very right way. Next, you are going to make sure that the environmental prioritize is objectives. Yes, we'll be having objectives. In this, make sure that you have been prioritizing that objective with respect to this ESG goal. We are going to have ESG goals, and we are going to have a kind of our okay industry objectives will be there. Okay, so how we are going to prioritize this? So make sure that you have been making ready, that you have been doing this, all these 3 important things in this class number 4, in such a way that you have been making sure that you have been making the things ready for your next journey. Next, coming to the class number 5, Class number 5 is a leadership. Yes, we are having a lot of things put together in this class number 5, in this environmental aspect. Make sure that you are being going to demonstrate how the management has been committed to this environmental sustainability towards the environmental and the ESG principle, which you have been spoken out in the earlier class number 4, how I've been committed on. Next, what are the budgeting about the budget, and how you have been going to ensure that you have been supporting your employees that this much of budget has been allocated for this implementation of the environmental management system, which in line supports this ESG framework. So in your budgeting itself, okay, I always urge my customers saying that whenever it's going to be, you are being going to place the budget, now onwards, talk about the ESG implementation budgeting also. That makes a lot of sense that we have been moving, we have been enforcing the team towards this, the importance of this ESG. Next, make sure that the decision-making process is being integrated with this environmental aspects, decision-making aspect with in line with this environmental policy. So whenever you are going to take any kind of decision, for example, new product is going to be introduced in your firm, okay, that's going to be the case. Make sure that you have been considering it in the kind of the environmental aspect view also, the first pillar of ESG. So you can able to ask the team about what is the environmental impacts is going to bring out, what is scope 1, scope 2, and scope 3, what is the rating of all of the things, because this makes a lot of good sounds and good positive vibes in your team, saying that yes, the top management is being more considered and they have been more forced on this ESG implementation for the betterment of our industry. Next, coming to class number 6. Class number 6, I think last 2 months before, we had a separate session on aspect impact integration with this ESG. Okay, I can able to share that link also for your understanding. Here, I can able to spell out some important aspects that make sure that whenever you are going to have this class is one of the very, very important class while you are going to do this ESG integration, that to the first pillar of environmental. The aspects, make sure that you have been understanding, you have been capturing the aspects of environmental first and their potential impacts with respect, okay, with respect to environmental factor. Next, make sure that your objectives, already you will be having objectives. Make sure that can you able to align that objectives with the targeted alignment of the ESG goal. Already you will be having objective. Can I able to equate with the ESG goal, or otherwise you can be able to add few more objectives with in line with this ESG goal to ensure that how this ESG objectives are going to be achieved. So here you can able to see very clear demonstration in such a way that yes, already you have been going to capture, okay, you are going to capture the objectives of ESG, and then what you are being going to do, you are going to integrate it, okay, that in my SOP, in my action plan, saying that how I'm going to achieve this also. That's sounds very good, that practically I'll be working towards that. Next, what are the risks which is being involved in this environmental aspect which I've been identified on? Risk which I, okay, how I can able to control that, the aspects and impacts, okay, the aspects which I've been identified, then based on this impact, how are we going to control that? What is the control measures which I've been going to have? It's going to be the lead for class number 8. Okay, here we are going to ensure that first significant environmental aspect which you have been identified earlier, how you have been going to mitigate that. Class number 7 is a support class. In this support class, very important thing about the resource allocations. It's not a particular person, it's not a particular department. Most of the times in many of the industries, as of my experience, whenever I've been conducting the audits, or the ESG workshop, I can able to know that ESG implementation or ESG awareness have been given to a particular department. It's not so. You have to ensure that the knowledge has to be spread, the competent has to be spread throughout the industries, and their roles and responsibilities. This ESG aspect also has to be integrated. Next, how well it has been communicated. How we are going to have a effective communication system towards this ESG aspect. Towards this ESG aspect, how well, we have been having a communication channel. Already you'll be having a environmental committee. You can able to add this, the first pillar of environmental towards that committee also, so they can able to have a proper channel in the organization to talk about more about this, implementation of environmental pillar of the ESG. Next, we are going to talk about the very important aspect, that control of documents related to ESG. Yes, we are going to have a session in the coming future about the documentation and records with respect to ESG. Make sure that you have been integrating this into your ISO 14001. At least the first pillar, which has been known as environmental, you can able to ensure that the documents which is being used for monitoring, measuring, analysis, and evaluate, you can able to give a separate documentation numbers, and you can able to use that. Next, about the class number 8. In class number 8 is about the operations, how you are going to ensure that uh, the compliance. You will be having the environmental regulations, the compliance requirement. How you are be going to ensure that uh, I've been compiling, I've been fulfilling the requirements and the objectives, and how well I've been having a procedure. I've been developed a procedure to ensure that the environmental incidents and emergencies have been handled. That's the most important thing. Whenever you're going to talk about ESG aspect, this environmental incidents and emergencies also has to be considered, and how well I can able to manage that. Next, we are going to talk about the monitoring and measurement. In class number 6, I'm going to fix in such a way that this is going to be my ESG objective. Here in class number 8, I'm going to monitor. I'm going to say that I fix this, carbon emission percentage, how much I've been achieve, how much I can able to achieve on, whether I can able to reinforce or I can able to go for a continuous improvement or not. That's the last point which I like to spell out in this class number 8. Corrective actions. What is the corrective actions? If I've been can't able to fill, or I can't be able to achieve the objectives which have been defined, what is going to be my corrective actions towards my non-conformity and towards the continual improvement also. Next, about the performance evaluations. Yes, we are going to already you are going to have a surveillance audit and internal auditing in your organization. Make sure that how well you are going to integrate the internal audit with respect to this environmental management system, with respect to this first pillar environment. Next, you are going to talk about how well the effectiveness of the objectives which you have been set, and how well you have been aligned it with achieving this with the ESG goal. Here, the class number 9, in a nutshell, I can able to tell you that you are going to conduct your ISO 14001 internal audit, and make sure that in this internal audit, the ESG, the environmental objective which you have been fixed has to be evaluated, and you are going to ensure that the gaps which is being found is being noted in your internal audit report. Based on this internal audit report, make sure that you are moving towards the class number 10, which has been known as improvement. How well I can able to improve upon my environmental management system based on the audits which you have add in the class number 9, and how well I can able to improve my environmental aspects with respect to my objectives, and also the global requirement, and also my customer requirement, and how well I can able to integrate with the new technologies. If everything is going fine, Yes, I can able to set my upper limits in such a way that I can able to go for sustainability towards this environmental aspect also. As we have been stated that these are some of the key integrations has to be done. Key integrations which has to be done before you have been before you have been making sure that the specific integrations have been applied and you have been using the specific integration. We can able to see that some of the specific integrations now, starting from class number 6.1.1. Okay, make sure that you have been going to identify and assess greenhouse gas emissions. Okay, in this environmental aspect, make sure that you are going to you are going to you are going to mark, you are going to uh, record the greenhouse gas emission as an aspect. Next, in your objective, make sure that your objectives with respect to greenhouse gas emission should be reduced. For that, you have to have a monitoring basis. You have to have a data. What is the greenhouse gas emission as of now in your industries? And 7.5.1, make sure that you are having a record for energy consumption and greenhouse gas emission. As I've been told you earlier. Next, with respect to pollution prevention, earlier in this environmental pillar, the first pillar, most important aspect is climate change. In this climate change, you can able to use this three classes. It's not going to be limited here. I've been telling out what are the first steps you can able to do it on. Next is your pollution prevention. In this, you are going to use 6.1.2, how well you have been complying with the regulations with related to air, water, and land pollution, which you are been having in your state. Next, how well you have been implementing the operational control to prevent, in the pollution which you have been identified already, how you are going to control it in 6.1.3. Next, about your 7.4.1, how well you have been communicated this policy of reduction of pollution, and how well your employees have been aware about that, and how well they have been practicing out. Next, about resource conservations. In resource conservation, make sure that how well in class number 4.2, how well the resource scarcity, and efficiency in defining the scope of the environmental management system. Okay, make sure that you have been doing it on. And next, resource consumption as an aspect, resource which you have been using on, make sure that you have been using you have been using it as an aspect of the environmental for our risk identification. Next, 6.2.2, make sure that you have been setting the objectives and target to reduce the resource consumption. What are the resources you have been using on? Make sure that you have been going to have an objective to reduce the consumption. Next, about biodiversity consumption. Make sure that your biodiversity as a significant environmental aspect on 6.1.1. Okay, what is the aspect on this? Okay, identify that. Okay, identify the impact on biodiversity and make sure that you have been identifying the aspects, because it's going to be a very important pillar of our ESG, first pillar of environment. Next, make sure that you have been having an objective to reduce or minimize the impact of this biodiversity. Next, about transparency, environmental transparency and reporting. I've been used the subclasses of class number 7, 7.4. Make sure that you are going to have a procedure that how you are going to communicate with your stakeholders regarding this environmental information. Regarding the first pillar of environment, make sure that you have been maintaining your records for traceability towards this environmental. Make sure that you are having you have been having a performance index of this environmental aspects in 7.5.3 classes. Next, as we have been told that what is the 10 easiest step we can able to follow the integration of ESG with ISO 14001. Here is a key that is being developed by our INNOVATE research. We kindly use that. It will be going to be a cakewalk for you while you are going to implement this. First step, conduct an ESG materiality assessment. What is the important aspect as an industry I've been contributing more. And next, you can able to understand that what are the factors I have to reduce on before you are going to ensure the second step of ESG factors to ISO 14001 class. This second step only, as of now, we have been gone through that what is how to integrate this ESG factors to ISO 14001 in a nutshell. Okay, there are a lot of things we can able to do while we are going to have a kind of implementation. This is the starting your journey. You can able to have a better understanding while you have been finishing this. Next, make sure that your environmental policy has been reviewed and updated as per ESG requirement. Once the policy has been reviewed, we are going for the step number 4. You are going to establish and align your ESG objectives and target with respect to your policy. Once the objectives have been established and realigned, you are going to update your environmental management system procedures. Already you will be having your environmental management system procedures. Now you are going to update your environmental management system procedures with respect to your ESG objectives and target. Then for understanding of this EMS procedures, we are going to have a training and awareness session to different cadres of peoples, how they are going to perform that. Next, you are going to monitor and measure the performance with respect to this ESG parameter by conducting a regular reviews on audits. As I told you, this can be your internal auditing also. Next, commit. Okay, the ninth step is communicate and report transparently. It can be done as your management review meeting. In your management review meeting, you can able to add this also one of the element. The last step, in your management review meeting, always you can able to ensure that about the continual improvement towards the ESG objective which you have been laid out. So, my dear friends, yes, it's a starting step, it's a baby step which you have been taking for implementation of this ESG, the first pillar, environmental, towards this ISO 14001. Once again, thank you for your cooperation. It's been a pleasure to meet you all once again. If you have any doubts, any queries, always you can able to use this. And if you want this presentation as a as a soft copy, do mail us. Our team will send you the soft copy for training purpose in your organization for you. Thank you once again. Have a great day. Bye-bye.